Okay, we're going to get started. I'm Jennifer Hernandez, Legacy Mutual Mortgage. Happy to bring one of my clients and friends, Karen Chandler, with Benefit Concepts. This is Medicare Made Easy. So I'm just bringing you information this is for our clients and friends just to help make their lives easier. So I wanted to introduce you to them. Karen, you're going to tell us about Medicare today. So I am definitely taking notes because I have two elderly in-laws that live with me. So this is definitely on my mind. So if you go to the next slide and we'll just introduce ourselves really quick.
Okay.
So I'm Jennifer Hernandez, Loan with Jen, Legacy Mutual Mortgage, loan officer. If you need a loan, call me. If you know someone that needs a loan, call me. But really, we're here today for Karen. So Karen, I will let you just tell everybody about yourself, and we're live. We're going.
Hey, hi, everybody. I'm Medicare. I specialize in Medicare, and I'm a broker, and I have been since 1988, and working strictly with BCI since 2008. So have over 3,000 clients by now, and the trying time of year is during annual enrollment, which we'll talk about that during the seminar. Anyway, I just specialize in making your transition. If you're aging in, that means you're turning 65, or if you are on a group and you need to get Medicare, that's the transition. I'm here to help you make it easy. So with that being said, the most important thing, which I've recently learned, is to understand the difference between the two government agencies. So, and I talk a lot with my hands, so you'll see them. Anyway, so you've got Medicare. Medicare is insurance. Social Security, and incidentally, you go to Social Security to get your Medicare. But after that, to look at claims or to pay bills for Medicare, you go to Medicare.gov. So you go to Social Security to get the benefit. So to get your income, which is your monthly income that you get, it starts at 62 is when you first can get it, all the way up to where you're fully vested at 70. So any time in between, most people today, for example, myself, just turned 65. My full benefit for Social Security is 66 and 6 months. So that's when I can get 100%. But if I defer it, which since I'm going to continue working only makes sense because of the taxes, and you'll talk with your financial advisor or your taxman, really your taxman, to come to that conclusion for yourself. Everybody's different. So anyway, but that's the two main differences with Medicare. So now to get into the nitty gritty of Medicare, you have A, B, C, and D, and those are parts. So Medicare is parts. And so those other numbers that you see that repeat, those are different. So just remember Medicare A and B is your, it's the one that's been around forever. Call it traditional. There's a lot of different things that people associate it with, but it's been around. It's where you can go to any hospital or doctor, basically any provider in the United States. All you have to know is, do they take Medicare? So once you get onto Medicare, the important thing to note today because we don't retire and we don't take our Social Security, is you do have to pay your premium. You will get dropped, and then there's a lot of red tape. You're locked out. So I advise 100% of people today to open up a My Medicare account, and you will do that at Medicare.gov. You do have to have your Medicare number to do that. So you don't need to worry about that until you're actually got your little card in hand. The other thing to note is to get Medicare, today you have to open up a My Social Security account, which you do that at SSA.gov. .gov, and that might be somewhere else in the presentation. And if it is, we'll just talk about it again. Anyway, so SSA.gov to access or to enroll into Medicare, Medicare.gov to enroll into a My Medicare account, makes it very easy to pay and to look at claims. Okay, so original Medicare, I think I sort of already said some of these things, but you've got A and B, traditional, been around since 65, and you can go to any doctor, provider in the United States. Just like with any insurance, once you walk off the boundary of the United States, you are not covered. A lot of people do not realize that. You go on a cruise, you're not covered. You go to Mexico, you're not covered. You go to Paris, France, wherever, you're not covered. So something to take into consideration if and when you travel. With that being said, one of the things that I'll go ahead and address here real quick is, when is it right for you to go on to Medicare? Well, that's a personal decision, because as long as you have group insurance, you're in control. So you can delay it without any penalties, waiting periods, or pre-existing for anything. That is the biggest confusing bit of information that you're ever going to run across with Medicare. You're going to have a million people telling you, oh, you've got to get it, because if you don't, you're going to be penalized. There is no penalty as long as you have group insurance. So then what's Medicare Part C? That is the one that is highly advertised on TV, especially during that one period of year that is called annual enrollment, which we'll talk about that later. It's the Part C's and the Part D plans are highly regulated by the government. They control every aspect of it. And those are the plans that are considered under the annual enrollment. But those are plans, they're called Advantage, Replacement, they're HMOs, they're PPOs. You do have to agree to the terms and conditions. Just briefly, if your doctors accept if they accept the plans, that's great. The biggest thing to understand about them, if MD Anderson is important to you, do not go get into one. If you like to travel a lot, they can be complicated. There is coverage, but only in the event of an emergency. And then the HMOs, you're looking at about a $4,000 out of pocket. The PPOs, about an $8,000 out of pocket. And that's just an exposure. So with that being said, that's just what you need to know. So they're going to tell you that you've won the lottery when you enroll in one. That's what the TV makes you feel anyway. They're going to give away all these little caveats, and it is what it is. It's I call it sort of like a buyer beware. Just know what you're getting into, know the terms and conditions, and know when you can get out if you need to.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I raised my little hand. And by the way, chat, we're going to be watching the chat and the Q&A, just because we've already covered so much so far. And this is great, Karen. So on the C, basically, it's something that is an addition to A and B, or it would replace it? Like, do you have to decide on A and B or decide that you're C?
Yeah, you have to enroll into A and B regardless of what you do.
Okay.
So if you do not have group insurance, then you have to enroll into Medicare. After that, you can decide to go traditional or go the Advantage plan. If you go the Advantage plan, you set that aside and you cannot use it. You have to go by strictly the terms and conditions of the plan that you join.
Okay. So A and B, like let's say, and I'm not that age yet, but let's say I go to do my account and I say, okay, let's say I'm 65 and I enroll and I'm automatically through that enrollment, or after I fill out forms and whatever, I'm A and B. Like, do I have to choose A or choose B, or am I both?
No. So when you go online to ssa.gov to enroll into Medicare, A is assumed, they'll never ask you. B is the one you have to check and say that you want to enroll into B. Okay.
What's the difference between A and B?
A is medical. I'm sorry. A is hospital. B is medical. And so that's your complete package. Well, that's your Medicare portion. So,
okay.
So
gotcha.
So
and then C is something additional.
Yeah. So you have either A, B, you pick a supplement and a drug plan, or you enroll in A and B, stick it aside and do an Advantage plan. Either or.
Gotcha. An Advantage, the reason someone would do Advantage is because they want something covered when they go out of the country. No. The main reason someone's going to do the Advantage is because it's a zero premium plan. You pay as you go. Oh, you pay as you go. And it's kind of an additional than the A and the B. It covers maybe a little bit more than the A and the B.
So the law states that it has to be just as good as. Where they come in on these HMOs and PPOs is they give a lot of freebies, so to speak. Maybe a little dental, maybe a little vision, maybe a little free rides back and forth to the doctor, gym memberships. Some of them give like a little credit card to go to the local drugstore to pick up a few things. So just little things to make you want to get that plan is basically what they're doing.
So if there's no premium, who's paying for it?
Well, the government.
The tax
dollars. Sorry, not the government. The government doesn't pay for anything. The tax dollars. So we pay payroll taxes for Medicare as long as you work, even if you are 65 and older, even if you're already taking Social Security, you're going to pay payroll taxes as long as you have a payroll. And even if you're a 1099, you're still going to pay Medicare payroll taxes.
Okay. So why wouldn't everybody want to do Part C?
You're very limited. If MD Anderson is something of importance to you, then you would be cut off of the availability to go to MD Anderson with an Advantage. If you have
Part C, if you have C.
And the reason why is that MD Anderson has a higher rate of reimbursement. And so, for example, I always tell people this, for example, on your group plans have, typically there's 3 levels of providers. And to get to the top one that has MD Anderson in it, your employer is going to pay the top dollar. So not even all employee plans have access to MD Anderson. So that's what it is. So gotcha. A little bit higher reimbursement. So you're just not going to get it on an Advantage plan.
Okay.
So one of them claims, but you're paying dearly out of pocket. So if you can afford $10,000 exposure a year, maybe so, but you're talking about a supplement. When you first get started, you're, maybe 140 average. You pay a simple little $233 annual deductible, and then 100% is covered. Versus you don't pay anything. And then for HMO, which is more restrictive, you're looking at about a $4,000 out of pocket, PPO about an $8,000.
And that's if you're under the C.
Yes. And so another thing to note about, you just have a lot of restrictions. So you're talking about the Medicare doctors. So all your specialists are going to take Medicare.
A and B.
Medicare, yes, A and B. And then all your hospitals are going to take it. Who you have to be concerned with are general practitioners, internists. Okay, so that's just traditional Medicare. Now, so talk about an Advantage plan, you're looking at about 25% of the doctors are going to take an Advantage plan. In fact, people hear all the time, oh, do you have one of those kind of plans? I went, being in the hospital with both my mom and my dad, the doctor looked at me and they're like, tell me they don't have one of those kind of plans. And I'm like, well, they have traditional coverage. So you're good, doc. Anyway.
So the doctors prefer the traditional A and B.
Absolutely. Because their hands are tied. There's a lot of red tape to get what they need diagnostically, or the biggest is the rehabilitation services following a hospitalization, stroke, knee replacement, hip replacement. Some of the things that are more common as we age, heaven forbid, you go in there. The skilled nursing is designed to get you back to where you were before you had your injury, accident, or what have you. So with that being said, it's very hard for the doctor to get it approved on an Advantage plan. Okay. So most of my clients, or most of the feedback, I have very few clients that actually take it. In general, they say, in general, statistically speaking, about 25% of all recipients on Medicare take an Advantage plan. So it's just a personal decision. And I call it it's not about what I like or dislike. I really don't have an opinion. What I would say is I educate my client so that they can make the best decision. And I'll help them make that, by sort of giving them questions and answering and telling them things that most people, like when you go to these seminars, they won't tell you the ins and the outs. They'll only tell you the good things. They won't tell you anything that you need to know. And there is a huge push to get people on these type of plans. What happens, to answer your question that you asked me a while back? So when you enroll in an Advantage plan, the government sends, let's say, about $1,000 to the carrier. So let's say I'm with Aetna. They're going to say, Karen Chandler signed up with Aetna, so we're giving you $1,000 a month. Take care of her. We're done. We've washed her hand. We're done.
That's hardly anything.
That's why you can't use both systems.
Got you.
So anyway, but like at the very bottom, plans may offer some extra benefits original Medicare doesn't, like dental, vision, and stuff like that. And one of them is a good dental benefit, one plan. The others are all, yeah, right. It's like, oh, they grabbed the discount plan out of the newspaper. Well, we don't get newspapers much anymore, but you know how every Sunday they used to have that discount plan?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's just, all I will say is just educate yourself so you know. Now, one of the really cool things about the Part C is that first year you get into Medicare, you have a whole year to test drive it and say, you know what, I do not like this. I don't know why I got into it. So any month during that first year, you can get out. So let's say I signed up and 6 months later, I'm diagnosed as cancer. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I'd never have it. I need to go to MD Anderson. So I call up my broker, I call up Karen Chandler and I say, hey, I need off of that plan. I need on to traditional. And I go, no problem. So then we do that the first year. After that, you're locked in. And the only time you can get off is during that annual enrollment, which we'll go over that in details a little bit later on.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't see any in the chat.
Okay, good. So when can I enroll into Medicare? So there's a little chart here. It's a little confusing. The most important thing to really know is that the first you can enroll is 3 months prior to your birthday month. So if it's just easier to use me. So my birthday, April 13th. So April 1st is my eligibility for Medicare. Now, if I happen to be born April 1st, I could go all the way up to March 1st. So if you're born on the 1st, you get to go 1 month prior. Anybody else, it's the 1st of the month of your birthday. My client that I just worked with, she's turned 65 July the 30th. She gets Medicare July 1st. So, but the sticky part is when you enroll. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. So let's say I don't enroll. I'm in France having a good time, and I just really didn't even think about it. And I get home and I'm like, it's 2 months after my birthday. So I go in and enroll. Well, the most important thing to understand is they're gonna block you out for a little bit. I don't like to get into the nitty gritty. That's nitty gritty. What I say is, number one, you need to work with a consultant. I get more calls where people have literally put themselves in a pickle because they thought it was so easy, they could do it. Well, in Texas, you're not charged 1 penny more to work with me versus to call ARP or Blue Cross Blue Shield. And there's a little clerk sitting there and just, type. There's no representation. And over your questions in the long haul, who do you call? Because you sure can't get that girl back on the phone because it was just a service clerk. So you're really doing yourself a disadvantage to not use Karen Chandler. No, you can go to any broker, but Karen Chandler has more experience.
Yeah, okay. You're good. You're always answering the phone and always, well, I don't have Medicare yet, but on other stuff,
but the good thing is everybody gets it one day.
Yeah. I do have a quick question back. Okay. So let's say I'm in the 2 to 3 months. Can I enroll? Let's say I'm 6 months after 65. Let's say I'm in France having that good time. I'm going to manifest that idea right now that I'm in France and I'm like, oh my gosh, I turned 65 6 months ago. Can I then pick it up then and then just still wait the 3 months?
If you have group coverage, and it doesn't have to be yours, it can be your spouse's, because they're at home working while you're in France, right? Or Paris or wherever we went. I forget.
Yeah.
We're just going to do it all. We're just going to go everywhere. Hubby's going to be sitting back there working. So you're on his group policy. So you're good to go. Now,
okay. It's if I don't, let's say I don't have any insurance and I'm 65. You have to do it right away. Like when you get 65, like in that first couple months.
Because if you go past this period right here, 3 months past, now I have to wait until open enrollment. Open enrollment is January, February, and March of each year. But my coverage isn't going to start till July the 1st. And I will get a penalty because I didn't enroll when I should.
Okay. So if, just to sum it up, if you're someone that does not have any group, you're not part of any group coverage plan, and you turn 65, you got to enroll that first 3 months, or you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in, you could have a hard time. Okay.
Because this is the problem too. In the United States, we can't get other coverage. So I would say get to work quick, because you can only get group coverage. Well, to get group coverage, you have to either create your own company and insure it as a group, or you have to go to work for someone that's going to give you group benefits.
Full time, yeah.
Because you could be locked out. Let's say you're born in February and you're off having a great time, and it's 5 months later, and I'm like, oh. So now I have to wait till January the following year. I enroll, and then my insurance doesn't start till July the 1st.
Okay. Gotcha. And if I'm part of that group plan, like let's say I'm still working or my spouse is still working, you can have the Medicare as a supplement to where, and which one kicks in first? Like your group plan is the first insurance, and whatever they don't cover, the A and B starts to kick in?
Yes, but no. So you never want to combine Medicare and group. So either or. So I was actually going to talk about that. So
okay, you can wait. We can wait.
No. That was one of the things that I was going to talk about a second ago. So bottom line, let's say that I'm on my husband's group insurance, but most spouses that are not the employee are going to pay dearly, sometimes up to $1,200 a month for coverage. So if I'm doing that, then it can be a whole lot less expensive for me to go onto Medicare. And the good news is that I can still do it 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 8 months later. There is no time frame because I have prior group coverage. I have a special election period.
Got it.
Come off and do all that.
But your spouse still needs to stay on the group if you have a spouse because he's not, let's say he's not 65 or she's not 65.
Exactly. Okay. So if he's not 65, but you are, and then usually 100% of the time, no, let's say 99.9% of the time, unless the employee or employer is paying 100% of your policy, then it could be advantageous for you to go ahead and flip over to Medicare.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
So the only way to discover that is that phone call we go through. It's a plus or, here's group, here's Medicare, and here's the bottom line. It's just a balance sheet equation.
Gotcha.
Figure it out. So what'll it cost you? Well, if you look here, you're individual or you're married, your income, and then what it's going to cost you. So a lot of people fall into this upper category. So your Medicare is going to cost $170.10. This goes up each year, typically $3 to $4 a year. This year, it went up $40, I believe. It went up a lot, like with everything else. So it just went up very high. So, but if you pay, and if you notice here, this is called an IRMAA premium. After you get past the $170.10, it's income related Medicare monthly adjustment amount. So it's strictly based on income. So if you have one for your Part B, you're going to also have one for your Part D. Now, the good news is that once I don't know if I have that somewhere else, once your income drops, even if you're still working and you're on Medicare, and you drop, let's say I drop down to part-time or any reason it drops, then you can automatically file a form to get that adjusted.
Oh, okay. So if I start in the bracket with the $544 a month, for example, and then I start to make less and I'm in the $170 a month, I can reduce my premium.
And you need to do it immediately so that you can take advantage of the lower premium.
Right.
So the government only looks at it every 2 years. So you want to jump on that as soon as possible. Of course, it's going to take them 6 to 8 weeks or months, maybe, who knows, however long the government takes to get that paperwork worked up. Okay. Now, and let's say they come back and they go, no, we don't really believe you, which it's never happened to one of my clients. They always get it. But the sure shot is to get a certified copy of your most recent income tax that shows your reduced income. So if all else fails, you can always do it that way.
Gotcha.
So anyway, let's see here. Okay. So how to enroll into Medicare? You go to ssa.gov and you're going to pick the menu and then Medicare, and then you're going to enroll. The first thing it's going to ask you is if you have a My Social Security account And if you do not, you're going to open one. There's two ways today to do that. You either do the ID Me or Gov something. One's blue and one's green. So I almost tell everybody today when I start talking to them, sometimes I'll talk anywhere from a year to 6 months prior. And I tell them so that it's not so stressful for them, go ahead and go on and get a Social Security account today. Anybody can. As long as you have a Social Security number, you can get a My Social Security account.
So on that Medicare.gov earlier that you said, that's different than this. So that Medicare ID number, is that needed when you go on and do this?
No. So that's after the fact. After you get your card in the mail, you're going to go to Medicare.gov and you're going to get you a My Medicare account so that you can pay your premium and you can see your claims.
Oh, but first I have to do the SSA.gov.
Yes. Now to enroll into Medicare, you're going to go to SSA.gov. You're going to enroll into Medicare. And, that's how you do it. Now, a lot of people remember, I don't know if you remember a couple of slides back, I told you the most misunderstood thing about Medicare out there today, and it's actually been in the whole 32 years that I've been doing this, is everybody thinks that they have to enroll into Medicare A, and that is optional. The only time you do not want to do it is, let's say you have an HSA account. So if you have an HSA account and you're making your HSA contributions, then the IRS prohibits you, and they will or can, I'll say, they could fine you if they caught up with you.
So you have to be careful if you have a group insurance. Like I do an HSA account, so I would need to consult with someone like you to make sure that I'm not doing anything that's going to cause trouble later on.
Exactly.
Okay.
And so there's some other things to know about that, but there's a smaller population have HSAs. And again, it's like, that's really nitty gritty and you're not going to remember it. So the best thing is let's talk when it's your turn to have to be concerned with those things. If you know the bare basics, HSA, I need to talk to someone about that. So yeah, that's the time to be very careful. And unfortunately, I'm just going to tell you, don't think your human resources department has all the answers. I actually work with, I don't even know how many companies, and I go in some of the biggest ones. I go into them each year and I do seminars for them. And when they have someone turning 65, they put them in touch with me. They're not trying to answer those questions because they're very complicated, detailed, and they could change.
So when you apply, when you mentioned earlier that you to have someone to talk to, whether it's Aetna or a BCBS, does that mean, like, let's say I go to enroll for Medicare, and do I get to choose from, like, who do I want to go to, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield and all that, or do they assign me?
No. All you're doing is enrolling into Medicare A and B.
Okay.
And then you come to someone like myself to take care of everything
for supplemental stuff.
Yeah. And I will tell you, most of my clients are referred to me because I'm going to help walk them through how to get enrolled into Medicare. Because it's complicated. I'm not going to say it's hard, but it's complicated.
And the reason that they need something additional, like the supplemental stuff that you do, is because it covers stuff that A and B doesn't cover?
It picks up the balances. So in a group plan, we always have our stop loss, okay, our total out of pocket. Back in the day, it used to be called stop loss. Now it's more referred to as out of pocket. So let's say I have a $6,000 deductible, which is a little bit more common today with the group plan. You're going to have a $12,000 out of pocket. It's a lot of exposure, but it is what it is. So Medicare has no stop. So that 20% goes on forever. And the hospital deductible can come up as many as 6 times a year. So that's what your supplement is covering. I'm sorry, I got a tickle in my throat from talking.
So your supplement, let's say that I have the supplement with you, is going to cover some of that out-of-pocket stuff that's needed through the A and B.
Yes. And in fact, this chart right here, whoops, where did it go? This chart. These are your supplements. And remember, I told you, don't get confused. You have parts A, B, C, D, then you have supplements A, B, C, D, F, G. These supplements have been standardized since April of 1992. We've gone through a couple other new bills, budget acts that have changed it a tiny bit. But basically what you need to know is this is standardized Medicare supplement. Every state, but there's 4 states that opted out. And they're all up north, by the way, so you don't have anything to worry about in Texas. But if I go to Blue Cross, I go to ARP, I go to Aetna, I go to Humana, anywhere I go, a plan G is a plan G is a plan G. You can't add or take away. Okay.
And so the F through the N is what you help people with?
Yes, exactly.
Got you.
So that's the supplement.
That piggybacks with the A and B.
Yeah, 99.9% of everyone in a supplement is going to go with Plan G. Prior to 2000, it was Plan F. There's only one teeny difference in F and G. It's that little square right there, which says Part B deductible, $233 a year. So that's the only difference. So it's not that big of a deal, but there again, there's a lot of misinformation about that, and people are concerned and worried that they're not going to get, the full benefit. Well, you are. It's good. So most people go with the Plan G. A few go with others, and if you're my client, I'm going to explain the ins and the outs of why you would want to go with one versus another. But just sort of remember the golden rule. Insurance is a risk pool. So the more people in your pool, the better off you are. Okay, less fluctuation of premiums when I have 1,000 people in my pool versus 10 people in my pool. So you've got your supplements, today, Blue Cross is the biggest. Then the next is the United Healthcare, which is AARP. And then those are about, if you took the pie and divided it into thirds, Blue Cross is going to be a little bigger than the third. The other is going to be the ARP is going to fill in the rest of that. And then everybody else is out of that other third. And the biggest portion of that is United or Mutual of Omaha. So there's a lot of companies. Let's say there's 100, maybe more. I don't know. I don't even try to know anymore, because to me, there's only 2 companies. Blue Cross and ARP, they have the best premiums today. They're going to hold your rates down the best because they're the largest. So anyway, there are others, but that's,
Gotcha.
when you come to me as a client, I'm going to give you all the ins and the outs and the nitty gritties.
Gotcha.
So the other thing, okay, so let's talk about drug coverage. So now we've got Part A Medicare, which is your hospital, Part B Medicare, which is your medical. Oh, and Part A is strictly room and board. So in order to use Part A, I have to be in that hospital for over 24 hours. And then Part A kicks in. Anything under is paid out of Part B. So Part B is your emergency room, day surgeries, outpatient surgeries, any type of therapy, any diagnostics,
And
everything.
is it true that Part A only like goes up to really like 30 days? Because that's where long-term care later comes in, right?
No,
They're not going to kick you out if it's over 30 days.
no. You've got 365 days, and then you also have an additional 365 days with your supplement.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, you're pretty good on hospitalization. I've never known anybody. I knew one person who ran out of Part A, but he did not enroll in a supplement, and he was in the hospital and ran out of hospitalization. So
okay, gotcha.
Not normal.
Okay.
So, anyway, okay, so Part D is the drug plan. So the drug plan, like I mentioned, highly regulated by the government. So they're going to give you, I'm going to go to this slide and then we'll jump back to the other one. But each year they re-up the stages. So in other words, the deductible goes up, the total, your little pocketbook of money goes up, the gap goes up. So everything changes every year, but they're the ones who dictate and all that. So let's go back to this other slide and talk more about it. And then I'm going to explain a little bit more. So Medicare dictates the outline of coverage. You select the carrier. So one of the confusing facts about that is that, remember back on that income chart, well, if you have an IRMAA premium in addition to their standard, then you also have one for Part D. And so people say, well, why am I being charged twice? Well, no, that's your IRMAA fee that you pay Social Security. You pay the carrier for your actual coverage. That's a huge, huge confusion to about 100% of people. So you can, once you enroll, so let's say I either age in, so I'm turning 65 and I get on, or I have been on a group plan and I'm going to retire. I transition to Medicare. So that initial enrollment that you enroll into a Part D, you are in it until annual enrollment each year. Annual enrollment is October the 15th, ends December the 7th. And there is nobody in the world that can change that. So that's the important thing to understand about that. I've had
unless I turn 65, I automatically, if I do that within those first 3 months, I'll automatically go in it, right?
Well, you'll go in it, and then that's your plan until annual enrollment when you have the opportunity to change it. There's a couple of things, but there's just not many options. Like, so let's say I was out having that good time in France again, and I left October 1st, didn't come back till January the 5th. And then I go, oh, Karen, I need to change my drug plan. Well, guess what?
You got to wait 10 months.
You have to wait until the next annual enrollment.
Gotcha.
And then it starts the first of each year. So it's very, very controlled by the government. And there's just not a lot of leverage to be flexible.
Okay.
Anytime the government controls it, there's not a lot of flexibility. So then anyway, I already told you about that IRMA premium that you're going to see on your Social Security statement that shows that they're taken out.
For Part D.
Did we talk, I don't know if that's on another slide, but I'm just going to go ahead and mention it. So if you are not getting Social Security, then you have to pay yourself. If you're getting Social Security, then the law says they're taking their money before they give you yours. So that's real important today, because you'd be amazed at how many people go, well, I didn't know I had to sign up or I had to pay that. I thought you took care of all that. I'm like, no, that's the government portion. I don't do anything for the government except for help people get onto I show them how to do it for them, whatever it takes to get on to Medicare A and B. But you have to actively pay for that. And since number one, we don't even reach full retirement until after the fact of 65. Back in the day, it used to be easy. 65, I get on Medicare. 65, I get on Social Security. It was one complete little thing. Well, now it's different. Jennifer, for example, do you know what your full retirement is?
No clue. You
You're
mean
too
the
far
amount?
away from it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 51. Yes, I'm too far away.
Yeah, but I think at some point it stops. I think well, until the government changes it, I think everybody hits full retirement at 67 or 68. I forget. So at some point it stops, but they're going to come back in and they're going to change it. Unfortunately, just, unfortunately. So anyway, okay. So more about this, the details of this drug plan. So the most important thing to understand about the drug plan is you get like I call it a little checkbook of money. So the government gives you this 4430 this year of money. So what they're going to do is they're going to take the cost of that drug. So if I take a drug that, let's say, is $100, but I only pay $5, or I get it for free. Some of these drugs, they just give you for free, but they're taking that money out of the availability that each person has. So that 4430 reduces down with each prescription you fill.
So wait, let me make sure. So let's say to me, the cost is 0, but the real cost is 100. They're going to take the 100 away from the 4430.
Correct.
Even though I didn't pay the 100.
Exactly. So stage 1 is your deductible period. And this year, the full deductible is $480. Now, companies can pick and choose if they want to charge $480 or less. They cannot charge more. So after you've met your deductible, then you start reducing your allotment of money. Now, what I will tell you is that most generic drugs don't even go against your deductible. So if you've got generics, technically you can go a whole year and never even tap into your deductible. But if I get one brand name drug or a non-preferred generic, I'm going to go in and I'm going to be responsible for that deductible. With that being said, after you've met your deductible, you pay copays in this period in stage 2 only. So whatever your copay is, you're going to pay, and the cost of the drug is going to come out of the 4430. Then, if I ever exhaust that 4430, you're going to go in to the next stage, which is your gap. A lot of people have heard about this gap. Even for someone as young as you are, Jennifer, you've got parents that could be having to help with that. So with that being said, the gap is simply after you've met the 4430 and until you've now spent $7,050, which I'm going to tell you the details about that in a second. But during this stage 3, you're paying percentages of the actual drug cost versus the copay that you were paying. Now, and here's the funny thing. Could be more or it could be less. There's no rhyme or reason, okay? So let's say a $400 drug is now going to cost you $60, and another $400 drug is going to cost you $15. The only way you can determine is to run a drug report and then look at the information. And therefore, again, it gets real complicated. There's probably about up to 20 plans. Each carrier has about 3 different plans. Anyway, so about 3 different plans. It's very complicated, but since I deal with these plans a lot, then I can be a big asset to you because I'm going to point out things you never even thought about.
So bottom line is I pay my deductible of the 480, then I go into the 4430 of availability to cover my drugs. And then after I exhaust that, I pay the 25% of the cost until it reaches the 7,050. Like, does
Correct.
the whole cost of the drug go towards the 7,050 or just what I pay of the 25%?
That's what I was just going to tell you, because this is the funny thing. It switches from stage 2. You're paying what you pay. So if I pay a copay, then that goes towards my out of pocket. When I get into the gap, over here, sorry, I did that wrong. The cost comes out of stage 2.
Total cost.
Not what I pay.
Right.
And over here, stage 3 is what I pay.
So if my drug is $100 and I paid $25, my 25 over and over and over is going to add up to the 7,050.
Right.
Until I reach that I have to pay.
Right. So they're going to take that $44.30 and I go to the store and I get a drug and it's going to cost me $75. That whole $75 is going to be added to that until I reach $7,050.
Okay.
Once I've done that, then I go into the last and final stage, which is stage 4, and that's catastrophic. And they do drop at that point substantially, or at least 5% of the cost of the drug. So there you go. It is what it is.
Stage 3 can be expensive, though. It sounds like, I mean, because you got to have all that out of pocket.
Can be.
And if you're someone that's not on, you don't have much income, you got all the money out of pocket until you get to stage 4.
Correct.
Okay.
So you have to, there's just a lot to understand and know about the drugs. One of the most important things to understand that I point out over and over again is what they have done with most of our drugs being generic today. They have come up with a fancy way to make more money. And so they'll take 2 generics, combine them together, and instead of them being 3 or free, now they're $400.
Gotcha.
So now what I suggest to the person is I say, go back to your doctor and ask him to separate those. And now you're 3 and free versus $75 and that $400 coming out of my allotment. And then I go into the gap lickety split. Because on an annual basis today, 44.30 divided by 12, you're looking at $369 average per month. And blood thinners, diabetic medications are really the type 2 are the expensive ones, not so much the insulins. Insulins can be too. So those are for the type 1s. And rheumatoid arthritis are really the most, add another category that's started up here. It's for your gut. Something a lot of people are coming up with is, I can't think of the name of it, but very expensive, very, very expensive. So all the more reason to try to stay healthy.
That's right.
So that you're not paying all your money at retirement for medications. Another thing that I suggest to a lot of people, when I look at the drugs, I can go, oh, no, this is way too expensive. You can go to the discount plan and get this drug for almost nothing. So that's just another thing that I'll note and I'll see and suggest to you, because my goal is to bring full service. And that part of that full service is to help you navigate and know how to get the biggest bang for your buck. So a couple of additional things that aren't really even related to Medicare, what I do, the supplement and the drug plan. That's how I make my money. I help with all aspects. But so when you turn 65, you want to file your extension with the county appraisal district that you live in. The only thing it's going to do is it's going to freeze your taxes. So when you turn 65, it's just your school tax. So it's going to freeze your school tax, which incidentally is your biggest tax. It's going to freeze it so it won't increase over the years.
So it freezes it right where it is?
Right where it is.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and that's a good thing, because then you're more stable in what you're going to pay for your taxes each year, especially if you do it pay it yourself, right, Jennifer?
That's right.
So you have two different ways: you escrow it or you pay it yourself.
That's right.
So people,
there's a question actually.
Okay.
I think someone raised their hand. Let me just see. I'm going to allow her to talk so she can ask it.
Okay, sure, absolutely.
All right, Pam.
Hi, Pamela. I can't see you, but I can see your hand. Oh, you're muted, Pamela.
She's muted, yeah. Or you could just put the question in the chat and I'll read it.
Okay. Whatever she's comfortable with.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll let you keep talking. I don't hear,
So that's part of financial planning. You just want to do that. And the second thing is just remember, if you look back on that chart, many slides up, what is it going to cost you? So make sure you do your due diligence when you're planning, and do not take out a lump sum, because you're going to be at a disadvantage and you're going to pay a higher premium for Medicare, and it's going to last for a whole year. There's no getting around it. Not all financial advisors are aware of it. I've seen it happen quite often. As part of retirement planning, I just say make sure to do that the year prior to you wanting to get onto Medicare and actually retire and have to start paying for your Medicare premium. Just talk it over. If you feel like you're still struggling to understand that, that's all the more reason to call me. I'll walk you through that and I'll get you straight on that.
Great.
And then that same thing that I told you earlier, once your income is lower, it's a form called the Life Event Change Form, SSA 44. You want to file that like immediately.
I do have a question though. Like, let's say that my income lowers this month, and let's say in June, and I file the form, and you said it might take a couple of months for them to process it. Are they going to refund me any premium for that period that they were slow on paperwork?
So everything is always effective the first of the month after you submit. So if I submit April 15th, it goes into effect May the 1st.
But if they need to use for the calculation, if they're using my AGI on the tax return and you don't file taxes until April, do you have to wait?
That's why they look back 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're always going to look back 2 years because everybody doesn't have to file until October.
For the deadline. Okay.
Deadline. So that's just a way to make it less complicated. So anyway, that's it. Oh, annual enrollment reminder, October 15th through December 7th. This is the only time you can make those changes to your drug plan. And what I should have put on there is your Part C or your Part D. There's a few exceptions for this rule. If you're on a Part C plan, you can get off of it the next couple of months, January, February, March. But just, if that's a concern to you, it's best to call someone or me. So
great. Well, Karen, I think there's a slide that has your contact info. So if anyone wants to call or email you on the side, and we'll stay on for just a couple minutes. If you type a question in the chat here, I'm happy to ask her live. I can ask your question for you. But thank you, everyone. Karen, thank you so much. I learned so much.
Good.
That was great. And it's probably going to change by the time I need it. So I'm calling you for sure.
You never know. Yeah. But the thing to understand is just, let's go into it as a partnership. It's not going to hurt you. People are concerned. It's like, look, you're never going to waste my time, because I tell people all the time, they're going, well, how can I pay you? Or what do I have to pay you? You don't have to, you'll never pay me, because that's illegal for me to charge a fee. I get paid by writing a Medicare supplement, a drug plan, or a Part C plan. That's how I make my money. And if it comes up and I tell you, no, you need to stay on your group plan, or you need to do this, or, oh, you've got the government, you don't need me. I've had to tell that to several people. Anyway, you're going to have friends, neighbors.
Just refer them. Yeah.
You're going to have all kinds of other people. And you know what? I even tell people, send me your enemies. I'll help them out too.
That's right. Everybody needs help, because
everybody needs help.
Web. Like, my head's about to explode. This was great information.
It is.
I really appreciate it. Yeah. And the people that were on today, I'll send y'all the recording. And but Karen, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Jennifer. And
great information.
And thank you for giving me this opportunity to visit with your clients and provide this information.
You got it.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Everybody, have a great rest of your day and take care.
Thanks, Karen. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay. Sounds good.